Buddhism, Hinduism, and Taoism, for example, in which the very distinction between philosophy and religion is far from clear-cut, and certain strands within these religions are as much philosophical systems as they are religious ones. Other religions display a more ambivalent attitude towards philosophy. This ambivalence is particularly marked with respect to the Abrahamic religions. The scriptures of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam contain very little in the way of explicit philosophical reflection, and the claims that they make concerning God and reality are typically based not on argument but on appeals to revelation and the word of the prophets. Indeed, suspicion of philosophical methods is a common theme in the Abrahamic religions. This suspicion was pithily captured by the 2nd century Christian theologian Tertullian when he asked, "What has Athens to do with Jerusalem?" Athens, of course, represented the Greek philosophical tradition, whereas Jerusalem represented the Hebrew prophetic tradition. However, the relationship between the Abrahamic faiths and philosophical reflection is a complex one. Although many have contrasted the God of the philosophers with the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, as the French philosopher Blaise Pascal put it, the Abrahamic faiths boast long histories of sophisticated philosophical reflection on religious matters. Christian philosophers who have made important contributions to the philosophy of religion include St. Augustine, 354 to 430, St. Thomas Aquinas, 1225 to 1274, John Duns Scotus, 1266 to 1308, William of Ockham, 1287 to 1347, René Descartes, 1596 to 1650, John Locke, 1632 to 1704, and Gottfried Wilhelm Leibniz, 1646 to 1716. Jewish philosophers who have made important contributions to the philosophy of religion include Maimonides, 1135 to 1204, Gersonides, 1288 to 1344, and Spinoza, 1632 to 1677. And among the many Islamic thinkers who have made major contribution to the philosophy of religion are Al-Kindi, circa 800 to 870, Al-Farabi, circa 870 to circa 950, Al-Ghazali, circa 1056 to 1111, Ibn Rushd, 1126 to 1198, also known as Averroes, and Ibn Sina, circa 970 to 1037, also known as Avicenna. Although these thinkers belong to very different social contexts and religious traditions, they all take philosophy to have a central role to play when it comes to religious matters. Just a matter of opinion? Despite the long history of philosophical reflections on religious issues, many people are surprised to discover that there is such an enterprise as the philosophy of religion. Religion and philosophy, they assume, are like oil and water. They just don't mix. What might motivate this attitude, and is there any reason to endorse it? Some hold that philosophy and religion should be kept apart on the grounds that the questions about God's existence, for example, are simply beyond the reach of philosophical methods. Religious issues, so this line of thought runs, are matters of taste and opinion rather than reason and argument. One might choose to believe that God exists, or, as the case may be, that God doesn't exist. But such questions can't be settled by reason, and even considering the relevant arguments is a waste of time. Although the position just expressed is not uncommon, there is little to recommend it. For one thing, it is far from obvious that questions about God's existence are beyond the reach of human reason. A great many thinkers down the ages, not to mention a great many contemporary thinkers, would certainly reject that assertion. To demonstrate that religious issues are beyond the reach of human reason, one would first need to provide an account of the limits of human reason, and then show that religious matters lie beyond those limits. Such an enterprise has occasionally been attempted. The Prussian philosopher Immanuel Kant famously argued for a version of this view, but few theorists regard such attempts as successful. The philosophy of religion may not be able to provide definitive answers to the questions that it asks, but it would not be unreasonable to hope that it can at least illuminate them. There is certainly no doubt that people do appeal to philosophical considerations when discussing religious matters. They consider arguments for and against God's existence. They wonder whether divine omniscience is compatible with free will, and they puzzle over the possibility of miracles or the prospects of life after death. Of course, it can be argued that these considerations have little impact on the religious views that people hold. It is certainly true that